I'm here with Andrew Hamilton, pastor, blogger, surfer, fellow West Australian, and also more importantly today, author of The Future is Bivocational. Hey Andrew, how did running an irrigation business become your missional goldmine?
Well, I didn't set out to make it a missional gold mine. I stumbled into this little business. But as pastors, we want to be connecting with the people in our community. And one of the big things I wanted to do was get to know the people I live amongst. I found that as a pastor, I wasn't doing as much as I wanted to, and I started this business not as a missional project, but after about a year or two, I realised I was meeting far more people in the community I was part of through business than I was through pastoring. And that just exploded. I got to work locally, got to meet people, got to form the kind of relationships that you hope you're going to have when you're leading a
Hmm.
church. So it was fantastic.
Yeah, I remember back in my days of pastoring as a full-time pastor, it was a real struggle to actually reach out to non-Christian people. You had to do major endeavors, whereas irrigation business, you're knocking on people's doors and getting to chat with them, and you're there for a number of days normally, I guess, and so it does build that. I'm finding I'm actually coaching more bivocational pastors
Hmm.
these days, and the title of your book, "The Future is Bivocational." For pastors who are watching, maybe struggling with their own church finances, not being able to get a full time salary, what do you think bivocational ministry isn't just about survival mode, but is actually a real advantage for missional work?
Well, it's that thing of when you work day to day in the same space as where your people work, when you show up on Sunday and you're communicating to them
Mm.
what it means to be missionally effective, you're telling stories from your own experience and you're joining dots that they're joining. So, in that sense alone, it's just been really, really valuable. They know that you know what's going on in their world. I know as a pastor, I got a lot of kudos for preaching, for visiting people, for doing church stuff. You don't get as much kudos for hanging around non-Christian people, which is why often it's hard for pastors to do it. Um,
Mm.
but when you run your own business, you've got to show up and be with people outside of the church community, and they pay you for it, which is even better.
Yeah, one of my mates, when he planned a church, he actually started a lawn mowing business. The church is very small, couldn't support him. So he started a lawn mowing business and was out and about in the community. And I think the benefits of this, and also I think finding the skill set that suits you. For yourself, you're obviously, good with your hands. For other guys, it could be an online business. It could be even life coaching or something that they do that they're really good at. I guess some pastors feel that, gee, if I go bivocational, it means I'm actually going to be a part-time pastor and I won't be able to meet all the needs that I have in my church. How do you respond to a pastor who says, "Well, man, if I don't have the time to meet the needs of everyone in my church, what am I going to do about that?" What would you say to guys who tell you that?
I just say you already can't meet all the needs of all the people in your church.
Yeah.
No one can, and no one is omnicompetent. So, I just say let that go and build a team, obviously, but just accept that there are a certain number of things you can do in 5 days. There are less things you can do in 2 or 3 days, or whatever the equivalent is. And what I actually found really helpful for myself was to say, I'm good at leading with leading a team, speaking, and meeting with blokes. So I will do those three things primarily. Um, Other stuff, other people can do. I can do these things really, really well. And in the time I had, I did those things well.
And did you educate your church about what you were doing, what you weren't doing, what you could do, and what sort of pushback did you get around those sort of education moments with your church?
We did it on the fly. So I didn't set out to be
Mm.
bivocational when we joined the church, but we found we were just, our leaders were very gracious, but they knew they couldn't afford to pay me full time and I had to
Mm.
work. So along the way, I just worked this out and we had this ongoing conversation. If I was jumping into a church now where I was intentionally going to be bivocational, I think I would say these are the things I can offer you. These are the things that I probably can't offer you or offer you less of. So I definitely want to set the expectations if I was starting afresh in that role. But we had an ongoing conversation that just turned out really, really well.
Feeling stuck as a church leader? Growing your church doesn't have to be overwhelming. The Hub gives you step-by-step roadmaps to grow a healthy church in just 20 minutes a day. Join the hundreds of church leaders who found their breakthrough by accessing my 4 decades of ministry experience, which delivers genuine results. Start your free 14-day trial today at growahealthychurch.com/hub. And your book is fantastic, The Futures Bivocational. I'll put a link to the book down below, folks. Grab the
Yeah,
book, jump into it, especially if you're a bivocational pastor or a church leader who's looking at becoming bivocational as a pastor. This book would be a big help to you. What sort of boundaries did you establish around your own world and also around your church members, just to make sure that you remained healthy in that whole process and also your church kind of grew in its own health as well?
Mm. Well, we said we're going to work on the business Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those were the days I allocated for doing sprinkler work and church work. I was paid 2 days a week, so I worked Monday and Friday and showed up on Sunday as you do. So that was my broad-based understanding. But I took what I call was like an integrated approach. So rather than saying
Mm.
hard boundaries, if I needed to go to a meeting on a Wednesday night, I didn't say, sorry, that's a business day. I can't show up. And by the same token, if a client called Monday morning and wanted to book a job, I'd take their call. So it all
Yep.
kind of meshed together with a broad understanding of how that worked. And look, it actually worked really well. I guess, I was reasonably good at having some tight boundaries and saying no to weekend work. And when you have a little business that starts to really grow, the temptation was to grow, say, I can grow this to 5 days, I can employ people. I just said, no, I want simple, flexible, autonomous, and I want to work 3 days a week. So I either turned work away, or at one point, I was talking to a business person who said, just put your prices up by 20% and you'll lose 20% of your clients and you make the same amount of money. So I did. And he was right. So, yeah.
I love that. That's great business advice actually
It was.
out there. And one of the guys I coach, he worked Monday to Wednesday in the entrepreneurial world, had great business there. Thursdays he worked at the church and Sundays, but his church was a very different church. Every second Sunday they met in homes, and every second Sunday they met in a building altogether. But he made that work for, he just finished up after 15 years.
I think I know who
So
you're
you can
talking
make
about.
these things work. You can make them work. So if there's a pastor watching today thinking, wow, I wonder if bivocational worked for me, what would you tell them? Here's the first practical step you should take if you're contemplating going bivocational.
Probably have a conversation with your spouse and just
Mm,
establish that they're happy for you to do that, because it does create some tensions. But if you can navigate those tensions together, then a conversation with your church leadership. And if you're on the same page and you can say, let's experiment for 12 months, then you can jump into it. I happen to have been in the business world in the sense of I work in non-qualified trade, I guess you'd say, irrigation,
mm,
and now I work in caravans. So I've found there are little niches where you can actually do very, very well if you can
mm.
find your niche. Things like stump grinding, things like window cleaning. They sound like very, very unexciting jobs, but you connect with people in your community. You can actually make quite a bit of money, and you can down tools as well. So yeah.
I, I love it. Hey, Pastor, if you're watching and you're thinking, wow, I really like some of this content, well, I've got a great video for you to watch on how to get your church reading the Bible. I met with one of my guys that I coach, Aaron Price. He was telling me the amazing things he's doing in church and getting people into the Bible. Check out this interview, a simple discipleship hack that'll work for you. Andrew, the bivocational future is here. Thanks so much for joining us today.